Hi, I'm Dustin, and I'm going to go ahead and record my ethical scenario. If you want to follow along, it's with Encounters in Reality, or with Reality, second edition, on page 233, scenario number 716. In case you don't have the book, I'll go ahead and read it. I swear I thought the RID ethics police were going to come and rip up my card. I was interpreting for a deaf professional at a conference who was the only deaf person in attendance. She said she had absolutely no interest in the conference, but she had to attend for her job. So instead of interpreting, the three of us, including my partner, spent the day chatting about everything under the sun. Afterwards, I felt guilty, but ultimately it was the client's call, right? I'll be using the DECIDE algorithm that Mr. Buddy Bauer taught us, who's amazing as a teacher, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that in there. And I'll be using the DECIDE algorithm. The first one is, the first D in DECIDE stands for dilemma. Dilemma is, I'm being paid to interpret, but I'm not. Now, the first E in DECIDE stands for ethics, laws, and policies. Ethically, I'm there to interpret. I am there to really just convey messages back and forth between the presenter to the attendee deaf person. And they have a right to, legally, to equal access. And they are legally bound to provide equal access. And so, in some ways, by not going ahead and doing that, I could be faulting them in their ability legally, or their legal stance on this. Now, the presenters are actually paying for me. So along with their legal responsibilities, they also have spent money and resources ensuring that I am there. And my boss, well, there might be a work policy of actually being forced to interpret depending upon the situation. And that could be like a company thing. Now, the C in DECIDE stands for consumers. And there's also, I have to consider my client's wishes, and they would prefer just to talk. And then they're supposed to actually, participate in what's going on. Now, there's another consumer, though, is the presenter at the conference. And honestly, the deaf client's very important, and what their wishes are very important, are very important as well. But the conference people are actually the ones that are paying me. And they're the ones that are paying my agency to interpret. And the fact that I'm not could spell trouble not just for me, but for the agency as a whole. The other attending people are also clients, because they are directly affected by whether or not this person participates. They could have some insight into a problem that the presenter is talking about, or they could have a special view on it, or just in some other way impact by actually participating in the group discussion. And by not doing that, they could be problematic. Now, there's also, going back to the agency, their reputation in the community. Not just in the deaf community of, oh, they didn't give me my way, so we shouldn't hire them, but also in like the presenters, the people who actually pay for us. If the presenters are like, this guy's horrible, he just talked, that could get around, and we could lose business because of it, which is far from what we want. Now, the I in DECIDE, as the algorithm goes, stands for ideas for solutions. I could go along with the client's wishes, just completely ignore what the presenter is saying, and just talk about that new Godzilla movie that's coming out, or like proper ways to waterproof your house, things like that, that just really are not productive. I could interpret anyways, completely ignoring what the client wants, and making sure I stick true to what they're legally obligated to provide and what I'm ethically obligated to provide. I could call the agency and ask them, look, this is the situation, what you want me to do, so that I'm respecting what they want. I could go ahead and ask the presenters, what do you want me to do? The person you're paying hundreds of dollars for me to be here for really doesn't really give a crap about what you're wanting to say. That might not go over so well. Now the second D in the decide algorithm stands for decide. Decide upon which choice you want. I'm going to go ahead and call the agency. And the reason I'm going to call the agency is because it shows I respect what my bosses want. It also shows that I am impartial. I can be impartial to both the deaf person and the presenters and say, look, this is what the agency decided. This is what I want to do. Also, they have more experience in this sort of situation than I would, at least from a business standpoint. And RID, one of the ethics, is number 6, business. And I'm ethically obligated to, if I'm being paid for a service, provide a service. But I can go around that by doing what my boss wants me to do and follow my business practices that way. Also, if they decide they don't want me to, or they want me to interpret anyway, I can go to the deaf person and go, look, this is what they told me to do. Sorry, it's kind of what I'm being paid for anyway. So, I mean, it's normal surprise there. But it doesn't, keeps my personal reputation to anyone this client tells, and in the interpreting community as a whole, it keeps it from having any sort of detriment to it. And let's go to, we are segueing into it, let's go into the E, the last E in the decide algorithm, which stands for evaluate your choice and defend it. The deaf client is not paying me. What they want is important, but it's also not what they're, it's not ethically what's supposed to happen, because just because they don't want me to interpret, it doesn't mean they're no longer paying the hundreds of dollars for me to be there. Just because they don't want me to interpret, that doesn't mean my boss isn't going to get mad at me. And just because they don't want me to interpret, that doesn't mean that legally they're not obligated anymore for equal access. But more than just, more than that, more than what their feelings are about it, we need repeat business. Whether it's from some sort of like shared review or word of mouth, or hey, these guys did really good, or hey, they were not interpreting the entire time and I was paying for it. Word of mouth or word of the business is going to spread. Whether it's to other presenters or just, hey, I know this guy here, use him. And we need repeat business. They could have this conference a year later and decide to go with somebody else because I decided just to sit there and talk about Barbies and stuff without actually interpreting what they painstakingly spent time trying to develop. And also, it shows that I'm a team player. It shows that I'm not the one who's going to go rogue and decide make my own decisions without consulting the agency or my boss or my partner even. I haven't even thought about contacting my partner and going, hey, what do you want to do? Which is a very important thing, because not only is my reputation on the line, but he's my partner, so therefore what the presenters think of me is also on the line. And what they think of my partner is also on the line. Now, it also shows through this choice that I'm guiltless in the decision, which means the deaf person can't get mad at me because I'm just doing what my agency tells me to do. They can't get mad at me or my partner, and decide we're not going to hire them again just because we're following what the agency says, which is important. Alright, thank you very much. Hope this was enjoyable and not too boring. Have a nice night.